but she was never at any of the meetings. Now that's what he said. So don't get mad at me. I'm gonna take a couple steps back just in case. I'm just a messenger here. That's exactly what he told me. Now that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is that he said, or those that were part of the committee said, even though they chose this quote, even they did not know that it will be taken out of context to the degree in which it was. That's the both sides of the stories. Now, there was a big group I was talking to about a little over a month ago, just like I'm talking to you all now, and I told them that based off of the 160 to 170 year history of the National Mall, they have never taken anything out of memorial before. They've made additions to memorials, but they've never taken anything out of memorial. So I told them, based off of that, I don't see them ever changing the quote. And then 2 hours later, I hear from CNN they're actually going to change the quote. So for better or worse, they will be changing this quote. They're going to replace it with the entire quote, exactly what he said. It should be done by his birthday next year. So if you don't plan on being back by this time, take a picture of it. Because next time you come here, it won't be there. It won't be there. So that's the second controversial matter. We have two more. And here's the third one. Right there on the left side of that statue, that's a signature. And that signature belongs to the sculptor, Lei Yixin. Lei Yixin, to get that right, the Chinese sculptor. So a common thing I'm always asked every time I'm here is, Mr. Ranger, why was it a Chinese sculptor? You know, why wasn't it an American sculptor? Or why was it an African-American sculptor? I hear that all the time. And that's the most prominent question I always hear, as a matter of fact. So out of anything I said so far, keep this one in mind, keep the story in mind. Because this is how they found Lei Yixin. Now, there was this famous, or prominent gathering the most prominent carvers, I should probably say, right here in the States in Minnesota. It's called Minnesota Rocks. Again, the most prominent carvers over the entire world. And so the Martin Luther King Foundation, the chief proponents of having this memorial built, went over there to find a carver to the statue. And so they had first approached someone from England. And they said, wow, we love the work you do. We want you to be the carver of the Martin Luther King statue. And he said, wow, what a great honor, what a great privilege. It's something that I would love to do. But I just met this gentleman from China. He does some pretty good work. Take a look at him first, and then I want you all to get back with him. They said, okay. But then they approached someone from Australia. His work caught their eye. They said, sir, this is the best work we've seen so far. We want you to be the carver to the Martin Luther King statue. What do you think? And he said, that's a great honor, it's a great privilege that any sculptor can have. And it's something that I would love to do, but I just met this gentleman from China. He does some pretty good work. Take a look at him first, and then I want you to get back with me if you don't like his work. They said, okay. But then they approached someone from Africa. They said, by far the best work we've seen. You are the man for the job. We want you to be the carver of the Martin Luther King statue. Same line. What a great honor, great privilege. He was flabbergasted. Then he also said he met this gentleman from China that does some pretty good work. He told them, take a look at him first. If you don't like his work, then get back with him. And that happened 9 times. 9 different times, 9 different people, 9 different nationalities. So again, going back to the Chinese sculptor, why was the Chinese sculptor? Well, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't the first choice. He wasn't the second choice. He wasn't the third. He wasn't even the fourth. He was the 10th choice. But he was the best, obviously, because all 9 of those people, I mean, Martin Luther King is a recognizable figure throughout the entire world. So carving a statue like this would be just the greatest accolade that almost any sculptor can have. But those 9 people loved the work that Lei Yixin did so much that they decided to forego that privilege of carving this statue because they figured that only he would be the best man for the job. Now,
spell his name.
Don't get me started. Don't. I can't. You put me out there on that one. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. If anybody have a brochure, we can help this miss out. But let me say this: before this memorial was built, obviously I had to do a lot of research on Dr. King, and it wasn't until I started doing research till I realized that my knowledge of Dr. King was probably not where it should have been. And I would probably even go a step further and say a lot of those in my generation, probably those younger, their knowledge of Dr. King is not where it should be. I learned a lot of interesting facts about Dr. King. I learned that at the age of 15, graduated high school. That was news to me. I learned that at the age of 19, got his bachelor's degree. Quite impressive. At the age of 26, he got his doctor's. At the age of 35, became the youngest person to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Remember that quote we talked about earlier from Norway? Another interesting fact is, though, his power influence was so strong that the FBI was tapping his house phone lines. Found that very, very, very interesting. But out of all those things, though, I would say probably the most prominent thing that I learned is that Dr. King's message, the message that he preached, was not just for blacks. And I also learned that his message just wasn't for whites, and it just wasn't for Americans. Though Dr. King sort of had a message that transcended beyond gender, or race, or religion, or social class. Essentially what he preached was freedom from persecution, or freedom from oppression, equality for all. And those are liberties that we all, regardless of race, religion, social class, nationality, those are liberties that we all want to enjoy. So with that being said, I know I said I'm not supposed to give my opinion. I know we have someone recording also. I'm going to give my opinion in this matter. I think the fact that it's a Chinese sculptor adds more meaning to the memorial, I believe. And I think it even adds more meaning to the message that he preached. And I'm going to put this on you all on this one. Do you think that if Dr. King was here and someone were to say we're building a memorial for you, he would say, okay, but wait. He could only be an American. Or he could only be a black person. Or he can't be Chinese. Do you think that sounds like something Dr. King would say?
No.
Based off of these quotes, and based off of everything I've done, the research I've done on Dr. King, that sounds like something far, far from what he would say. And that's my tidbit right there. No more opinions on that matter. No more opinions on that matter. So that's the third controversial matter. I owe you all one more, and that's in relation to the face of Dr. King. I hear some snickering, so you already might be familiar with that. So I always hear, Mr. Ranger, this is a beautiful statue. I love the texture of it. But when I look at the face, it just doesn't look like Dr. King. Well, all right, well, here's the story behind that. The Martin Luther King Foundation, again, we have the Martin Luther King Foundation. They went over to China to check on the work of Lei Yixin. Little did they know, he already finished the first model. Not statue. First model of the statue. But when they looked at it, simply put, they didn't like it. They said he looks too stern, he looks too serious, and as a matter of fact, it doesn't even look like Dr. King. And so they told him to make 3 more models, 4 total. They would take all 4 of the models, bring them back to the States, and have Dr. King's family take a look at them. And guess which one they chose? The first one. The very first one. So, I'm not trying to step on any toes when I say this. But if you feel as though it doesn't look like Dr. King, I want you to keep this in mind. And maybe this will help reassure you. His aunts and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces chose him. His family chose him. So they will have a good idea how he looks, right? And I don't mean to step on any toes when I say that, but I guess the simple phrase is, it is what it is, right? His family chose the statue. So that's how they came up with the face that we see here today.